Morning everyone, Wednesday the 15th of April. So yesterday I spoke about the two lands separated by the valley of sin. And today we're going to talk about the river and the strategies that we have to get from the wrong side to the right side. So this river in this valley is the law which God put into place. God gave us the law so that we would have some guideline, a clear idea of right and wrong, and so that there would be a standard that we could aspire to and measure ourselves by. And so by keeping the law, we could get to God. It makes sense, doesn't it? And we need to also recognize that there's a lot of good in the world. There is good in us because we are all created in the image of God, the Bible tells us. We are corrupted, but the DNA is still inside of us. We want to be good, and we understand that we need to be good, and there's this desire to be good. We can to extent, but at some point we always fail. While we see the good and recognize the good that is in us, we usually don't recognize the monster that's lurking in there somewhere. And Paul puts it like this in Romans 7:18-19, in a kind of desperate way. For I know that good itself does not dwell in me, that is, in my sinful nature. For I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I do not want to do, this I keep on doing. So this is really typical, isn't it? What Paul is saying here is that deep inside we have a sense of right and wrong, and we know that we need to do the right. We know it, but we don't do it, because we are incapable of doing it. The law is good and right and comes from God, that shows us the right way, what we should be doing and how we should be living. It's a way to cross the valley of sin and to get God's side, but we end up on the bank on the wrong side. We don't cross the bridge like Joseph, like Sue Shampoo. Most of us at sometimes stand on the riverbank looking across and thinking, well, I know I really should be over there, but I'm not sure how to get there. And in front of us, what do we have? In front of us, we have the 10 Commandments. Here they are. So you come down to the bank, and there they are, set out in front of us like stepping stones above the water. And God gave us them to help us to get to the other side. The problem is that no one has ever made it across without falling off one or more of the rocks. And once you fall off, that's it. You can't get back on. You're done. The Bible says you're a lawbreaker because if you break one law, you break them all. So those are the stepping stones God provided. Let's quickly consider the essence of the law, these 10 commandments, which comprise this list that God has given us to show us the way. And remember, to be acceptable to God, we have to keep all of them always. I'll summarize them from Exodus chapter 20. 1, you shall have no other gods before me. 2, you shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above or on the earth beneath or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them. No images. 3, you shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God or take the name of the Lord in vain. 4, remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. In other words, 6 days work and 1 day rest, and honor that day to God. 5, honor your father and your mother, and it has a promise attached so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. 6, you shall not murder. 7, you shall not commit adultery. 8, you shall not steal. 9, you shall not give false testimony against your neighbor, or you shall not lie. 10, you shall not covet your neighbor's house, his wife, his servants, his possessions, or anything else. Tough list, huh? And no one has ever kept them except Jesus. We all fall off the stepping stones. So then what? Well, in human nature, we try in our own way, don't we? We try to find different ways to cross. But if we look at this river, the hidden obstacles that you can't see lurking under the water, weeds, branches, seaweeds, they're distractions and unseen things that turn our eyes off God. Sport, entertainment, hobbies, maybe our personal image, our health, our work, whatever good things in themselves we get involved in, but things that are able to distract us to such an extent that they hold us down till we drown. We cannot get across because of the hidden obstacles. And secondly, there's sharks and crocodiles, agents of the enemy who lie in wait and attack us through temptation in ways we usually don't expect and from under the surface. They're not very obvious, but they lead us into an ever-increasing spiral of sin and stop us from crossing over. And then lastly, there's the water itself. There's the current. The water is cold and the current is strong. The law is black and white, unforgiving and relentless. It never goes away, always reminding us that we're not worthy and we cannot keep it. It sweeps us along, and try as we might, it's way too strong for us. but we still try in our own way. And I've sketched these ways out here. How? Firstly, we try to swim across by our own individual effort on our own, by swimming past those stepping stones of the Ten Commandments. We plunge in and we try to keep our heads above water, and we really try. Our own effort to be good aside from the Ten Commandments, our own standard of personal morality. We fail because it's not our own standard that will get us there, but God's standard. And that's why we so often hear people say, I've been a good person. I've never really hurt anyone. I've tried really hard. Surely God is not going to judge me for that. But that's by their own definition of what a good person is, and not recognizing that unless they keep that law, they've failed to be a good person, and no one can keep the law. Secondly, we try by boats of religion. Okay? We can't swim across, so we climb into a boat. It's designed to gather people together in a group of people so that they can row or be ferried across. We think that religion can get us there by helping us to keep the rules. The problem is the boats all leak and fill with water and never make it itself. Religion itself can point its way to God, but it can't get you there. Only Jesus can get you there. Boats of religion are filled with passengers, mostly just enjoying the scenery, while allow others to row them across. And we think that if we belong to a religion, we don't have to do anything. It will get us there. We think that we're saved because we're born into a particular religion. That is absolute nonsense. Then there are the canoes of personal belief. We don't belong to a religion, but we create our own canoes, fine-sounding religious ideas that miss the truth, but are really based on ignorance and human speculation. And we get them from reading books, and most often these days from reading stuff online, fishing for information online, but stuff that's not in the Bible or half-truths. We're convinced, though, and row away by ourselves. And we hear people say, I don't need my religion, I have my own personal set of ideas about God. Well, those ideas are personal, because it's by my own way and not God's way that I'm trying to get across. We gather what sounds nice and is easy for us, and we reject what is difficult for us. And then we try and row. Mostly we get taken by the current, and our good ideas run out, and we will never make it. And lastly, we create bridges of human effort here. People gather up a whole lot of fine-sounding material and attempt to create a human structure, an easy structure, philosophies and theories, a mishmash of new age, fine-sounding stuff. They take what's easy, but again, leave out sin and its consequences. They always leave out the commandments. And we hear them say, who are you to tell me what's right or wrong? Who is God anyway? I have my own concept of God, thank you. And once again, it's all about me. They do whatever they want, and they think it's okay because they have no measure and no standard. They measure themselves by themselves, and they fall short of the measure of God. The problem with all of these attempts to cross, firstly by the law, by the Ten Commandments, or then by our own righteousness, our own way, our own goodness, and our own standard, is that they're all cursed and doomed from the start. Paul says in Galatians 3, chapter 10 to 12, for all who rely on the works of the law are under a curse. As it is written, cursed is everyone who does not continue to do everything written in the book of the law. Clearly, no one who relies on the law is justified before God, because the righteous will live by faith. The law is not based on faith. On the contrary, it says, the person who does these things will live by them. So we cannot get across. We cannot have life by the law. In a sense, the law locks us up. We're prisoners to the law, as much as we're prisoners to sin. We might say then that, okay, God gave us the law, and the law is bad for us, so he's contradicting himself. He promised to help, he promised to make a way, and then he gives us these laws, and we can't keep them. So in a sense, he's betraying us. Galatians 3:21 and 23 to 25. Is the law therefore opposed to the promises of God? Absolutely not. Before the coming of this faith, we were held in custody under the law, locked up until the faith that was to come would be revealed. So the law was our guardian until Christ came, that we might be justified by faith. Now that this faith has come, we are no longer under a guardian. So what do we know is that the law was there to protect us, to show us that there is a right way, that there are rules that need to be kept. Problem is we can't keep them. So the law is not bad, but very good. In fact, it is perfect. What is not perfect is us. And the law shines a light on that imperfection and makes us conscious of the fact that we are imperfect. Romans 3:19 to 20. Now we know that whatever the law says, it says to those who are under the law, so that every mouth may be silenced and the whole world held accountable to God. Therefore, no one will be declared righteous in God's sight by the works of the law. You can't work for your salvation. Rather, through the law, we become conscious of our sin. You see, the law leads us to Christ because the first step to crossing over is to recognize who we truly are. And when our eyes are open to that fact, finally we can see Jesus. In a sense, the law is a mirror. We look at the 10 Commandments and we see that we are sinners and lawbreakers. If we finally recognize that and admit that we fall short and are not worthy in spite of our own efforts, then we're in the right place. And God can lead us to himself through the bridge of Jesus Christ. And I'll talk about that tomorrow. God bless you.